What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the show. So I'm finally back home. I had a couple of days to one day of just traveling and then the next day of resting a little bit. But we're back. And so I'm going to update you guys on some of the latest stuff, latest news that's out there when it comes to elections, because I haven't been able to put out videos. And generally what I do is I put out videos. So if I know I'm going to be traveling, I will I'll record a few different videos ahead of time, but then news changes. And when news changes, I can't really update you until I get back and settled. And so now I'll be able to update you. So I want to talk about this Miami race, because this mayoral race, because I think this is interesting. And this is something we should be looking at, because this is a pattern, or we're seeing this constant pattern of Democrats actually winning. And even if they don't win, they outperform the 2024 numbers that we saw. And so this is really good news for Democrats. They're doing really well when it comes to this whole push for affordability. And I think it's working. And people are coming out as a result of that, and they're voting against Republicans. So we'll have to see if this continues, and we'll have to see what happens in the 2026 midterms. But right now, we're seeing some of these different races flip. We saw another race in Georgia flip, and I'll cover that in another video. But this is really something that has the GOP very, very nervous. And you hear President Trump out there doesn't really know how to handle this whole affordability issue, and he's kind of going back and forth saying it's a hoax, and then saying that he's going to address it, and then going on these campaign rallies that he plans to do across the U.S. in the coming weeks. And you see he doesn't really know how to address it. But one way he can address it is by keeping his promises. He made promises when he was running for president. Now he needs to keep those. He needs to lower prices when it comes to groceries. He needs to lower inflation. He said he was going to do all those things. He said he was going to do it really fast. We're now 11 months into his administration, and none of that's happened. It's actually gotten worse. Prices have gone up. So let me show you this clip first, and then we'll talk a little bit about it. Here we go.
It's surprising, because the last time a Democrat held the office of mayor of Miami was back during the era of The Birdcage, which was a great film in the late 1990s, one of my favorites. But more than that, Kate Baldwin, it feels like deja vu all over again. Sarah Seidner is laughing in the back there, I want to note. And I'm coming in from Buffalo, where I was watching the Bills. Therefore, my voice is...
Is that what's going on?
That is what's going on right here.
You can't blame me being Typhoid Mary on this one.
No, I was just really rooting for the Bills. But this was just such a big shift to the Democrats. I mean, Kamala Harris won Miami, but just by a point. There was a huge shift towards Donald Trump. This was in Miami, Joe Biden had carried Miami by nearly 20 points, and Harris only won it by 1. And all of a sudden, look at this. It's a 19-point win for Higgins. That is an 18-point shift in just a year's time. Yeah. And of course, it is just the latest shift that we're seeing. That is what I think is so important going on here. We've seen it in special elections. We saw it in Virginia Gov. We saw it in New Jersey Gov. We have seen it across the political map, whereby over and over and over again, the baseline from 2024, Democrats are consistently outperforming it 10, 15, nearly 20 points in this case.
Well, put this into more context of what you're talking about, into kind of the broader trend that we're seeing across the country in races.
Yeah, okay. So I think if you know anything about Miami, you know it's heavily Hispanic, heavily Latino. And what we have seen is that Latinos have absolutely gone up and said, you know what, I don't like what Donald Trump is doing. I mean, just look at Donald Trump's net approval among Latinos. In February, it was -2 points. Not too hot to trot, but not that bad either. Look at where it is now. -38 points. That is a shift of 36 points in the wrong direction, the completely wrong direction for Donald Trump. And what the race in Miami illustrates, I was looking at the localities, locality by locality by locality. What you see is these huge shifts in these heavily Hispanic neighborhoods of Miami against the Republican nominee from the Donald Trump baseline. And so to me, this is an encapsulation of what we see. We saw it in Arizona's 7th congressional district, right? That special election earlier this year. Again, a heavily Hispanic district. What we see is Democrats outperforming that 2024 baseline, which to me is so important, because we see these national polls. You wonder, how is this actually going to impact things? And what we see is exactly what we saw last night. The first Democratic mayor of the great city of Miami since the Birdcage era.
Since the Birdcage era. Put that in a headline. So you have now Miami is going to be run by a Democrat. How many Republicans run big cities in America anymore?
Yeah, this to me is part of a longer, larger arc. And, you just look at this. GOP mayors in the 50 largest cities. In 2017, it was about 14. Now with Higgins coming in, it's 7. It's 7. Donald Trump has been absolute kryptonite to Republicans who want to run major cities in the United States. There are very few. They are an endangered species.
That is fascinating, just since 2017, that shift.
Literally Donald Trump kryptonite in big cities. That's what I got to say, Kate Baldwin.
Thank you, Harry Enton.
Thank you.
I appreciate it.
Okay, so there he talked a little bit about the mayoral race in Miami, and let's take a look at the final numbers here. So final numbers we're looking at, 59.5% for Higgins and 40.5% for Gonzalez, a Republican. And so she went. And I think this is the first time in 28 years a Democrat has won a mayoral race. And I know there was an independent that won, but it's an actual Democrat winning. And another thing, 18 points. Okay, so when they looked at Harris's numbers, it was +1. Now we're looking at +19. And so an 18-point outperformance by Higgins. And that right there should tell you a lot. Now, they were also talking about Latinos, the approval when it comes to Trump and Latinos. You see the change there. It was -2 for Trump. That was just in February. Now it's -38. So that's a huge shift. And what that is showing us is that Latinos, a lot of Latinos now are looking at the current policies and they don't like them. And they're voting against Trump. Even though Trump isn't on the ballot, they're voting against Trump. And so if you're a Republican, it's going to be hard for you to run on Trump's record because a lot of people don't like Trump's record, and Latinos are showing that they don't like Trump's record. Now, another thing that we need to talk about is in Texas. We have a lot of Latinos in Texas. We saw the redistricting. Will that really matter? Will Republicans be able to gain those 5 seats in Texas as a result of redistricting? Because if Latinos come out and they vote against Trump, if they vote against the Republicans that are running, we could see some of those seats. So instead of 5 seats, it could be 3 seats that go to Republicans, or it could even be less. And then you have California, and California looks like they will be able to get the 5 seats. They'll be able to get all 5 seats for Democrats. And so now we're looking at other states and how they're doing the redistricting. But the bottom line here is Democrats are doing really well in the special elections, and they're also doing really well in some of these other races where they are outperforming what Democrats just did in 2024. Now, why does this all matter? This all matters because right now Democrats have 215 seats, Republicans have 220. In order to take back control, Democrats need 218, which means they only need to win 3 seats. If they can net 3 seats, they will take back control of the House. And so Republicans are running scared right now because they know, and they're looking at the signs, they're looking all over these different races, and they're saying, hey, we have a problem. We have to address some of the policies the current policies that we've seen that President Trump has put out there. They're going to have to defend it. And one thing, and this is going to be something you're going to hear about over and over and over again during the campaign cycle in 2026. You're going to hear, because President Trump was out there saying, he was asked, how do you feel about the economy? He said A+, plus. That is going to be a huge problem for President Trump, and it's going to be a huge problem for Republicans who are running in the midterm election. Why? Because every reporter is going to ask them, how do you feel about the economy? Do you think it's an A+? And they're going to have to figure out, am I going to say it's an A+? Am I going to stick with President Trump? Or am I going to talk about, no, it's not an A+, and we need to do this and we need to do that? And so if they break from Trump, that could hurt because Trump might not endorse them. But if they stick with Trump, the American people know that our economy is not an A+ right now. You can't fool people about what they're paying. When they go to the grocery store and they're paying a lot more, they know. You can't fool them. You can't say, no, our economy is great. Inflation is down. Prices of groceries are down. You can't fool people. They know. We're experts in this. We go and we shop every day. So we know how much things cost. And so you can't fool us on this. You might be able to fool us on other things, crime and things like that, because we're not doing the research. But in a situation where you're forced to do the research because when you go out, you're purchasing things, you remember how much things cost. And so we'll have to see how Republicans play this. Now, another thing that we've been hearing a lot about Republicans wanting to retire, not going further. We've even heard Speaker Johnson is considering retiring. Now, this stuff is chatter behind closed doors, so we don't know if this is real or not. But when you hear Republicans talking about retirement, that's a big deal. That means that they know they're not going to be able to win in a re-election. And they're out there doing the polling, just like when we do the polls here and we talk about different polling. They're out there doing their own polling, internal polling, and it's showing them they're going to have a rough road. And so we'll have to see how it plays out. But I want to know what you guys think. What do you guys think about this mayoral race? Do you think this is a sign that Democrats will see a blue wave in the 2026 midterm? Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up. Please subscribe for more, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Bye. So that's all we have for this video. Make sure if you guys want to send me an email, you can do that, david@thetecshow.com. Like the video, subscribe for more, and check out these videos over here for some more great content. Talk to you later. Bye.